The silence in the small cafe was deafening, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in Eleanor's mind. She couldn't shake the image of Alan's face from her thoughts. His warm smile and gentle touch now felt like a distant memory, an illusion shattered by betrayal. "Why'd you do it?" she whispered, the words barely escaping her lips. Her heart raced as she looked into his eyes, searching for answers. They were no longer the comforting blue she remembered. Now they seemed clouded, lost, and filled with guilt. Alan stared at her, his hands fidgeting with the edge of the table. She noticed how he avoided her gaze, how the light seemed to dim in the space between them. "I never meant to hurt you," he finally said, his voice just above a whisper. She scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping her throat. "Didn't mean to hurt me. You slept with her, Alan. You broke my trust. How could you not see that coming?" Each word hit like a punch. She felt her heart racing, the pain bubbling to the surface. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration etched across his face. "It wasn't like that. It just happened. I was confused." Her breath hitched. Confused? That was the best he could come up with? Confused? "You said you loved me. You said I was your everything. Were those just words?" She tilted her head, trying to read his expression, hoping for something. Remorse, regret, maybe even love. "I do love you," he insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. What happened with Mira? It was a mistake. A stupid mistake." "Stupid mistake?" she repeated, fury bubbling up inside her. He watched her closely, as if he could read her thoughts, as if he wanted to believe it was fixable, that everything could go back to how it was before. "You don't just make a mistake like that. You made a choice. You knew what you were doing." A heavy silence settled between them, thick and suffocating. Beyond the glass window, the world continued to bustle by. People laughing, couples holding hands, their normal lives unaffected by this fracture. But here, within the four walls of this cafe, everything felt like it was collapsing. "How long?" she demanded suddenly, cutting through the silence. "How long did it go on? Was it just one night? Or was it more?" Alan hesitated. In that moment, she felt her heart plummet. "A few weeks," he finally admitted, his voice small. "A few weeks." The words bent her in two. She fought back tears, refusing to let them spill in front of him. "You were lying to me for weeks. How can you sit there and say you love me?" He reached out, his fingers brushing against hers, but she yanked her hand away, as if his touch could burn her. She couldn't let him in. She couldn't let him break her more. "Eleanor, please. I wish I could take it back. I wish I could erase it. But I can't. I made a mistake, and I know it doesn't mean anything now. But I just need you to understand." "Understand what?" she interrupted, her voice rising. "That you're human. That you make mistakes, just like the rest of us. You were supposed to be better than that, Alan. You promised me." The weight of her words hung between them. And for the first time, Alan looked small and vulnerable. He shifted in his seat, running a hand over his face in defeat. "I know." Wretched silence settled back, the air thick and heavy. A mother with a toddler at the next table laughed softly, the child's giggles ringing out like bells in their private hell. Elena could feel the rage inside her slowly transforming into something worse, a deep, bottomless sadness. "Is it too late?" he finally asked, his voice quiet yet full of hope. There was something heartbreaking in that question, in how he still thought he could fix this. Silently, she shook her head, unable to voice the words she didn't want to believe. She traced the rim of her coffee cup, staring into the swirling liquid like it was a crystal ball that could show her a different future. A future where they didn't break apart, where they could laugh like they used to. "Eleanor, please!" His voice broke, and she looked up to see a single tear escape down his cheek. Her heart cracked a little more. How could he still look so honest, so vulnerable, after everything? "Look, I want to believe you. I really do," she said, her voice faltering. "But trust takes a lifetime to build, and only a moment to break. I can earn it back," he said earnestly. "I'll spend every day proving to you that I'm worth it." "You don't get it," she cried, the desperation boiling over. "It's not just about trust. It's about love, commitment, our dreams. You shattered everything, Alan." Despair clung to the edges of her words, and she turned away, biting her lip to hold back the flood of emotions threatening to burst forth. She felt so foolish for believing in their story, for thinking they were invincible. Glancing over the cafe window, her heart raced as a figure walked past, the unmistakable outline of Mira, Alan's other woman. Time froze, her breath catching in her throat as she tried to reconcile the moment. She shot Alan a look, eyes wide with disbelief. "Who's that?" she asked, her voice sharper than steel. Alan's face went pale, confusion clouding his features. And in that moment, all his previous promises hung in the air like smoke, ready to ignite into flames. I don't know," he stammered slowly. But the panic in his eyes betrayed him. There was no way she could trust him now. The perfect moment they shared was forever, ruined, and the walls of their love began to crumble. As Mia walked closer, Eleanor felt the truth pouring in, her heart racing. A confrontation, a choice to make. And in that heartbeat, something shifted inside her. In the face of betrayal, she felt a flicker of newfound strength. Whatever came next, it wouldn't be about him. It would be about her. The silence in the room felt like a living thing, pressing down on Mia's chest. She could barely breathe as she stared into Paul's eyes, a storm of emotions swirling between them. Just moments ago, they had been laughing on the sofa, sharing memories of last summer's road trip. But now, the laughter had evaporated, leaving only the bitter aftertaste of unspoken words. "Mia, Paul began, but the words caught in his throat, almost choking him. He looked away, his jaw clenched tight, and for a horrible moment, Mia wondered if he was trying to summon the courage to say what they both knew was coming. "How long?" The question tumbled out of her mouth before she could stop it, raw and trembling. Each syllable felt like glass as it cut through the fragile air between them. He hesitated, his gaze drifting to the corner of the room, as if the walls held the answers he couldn't muster. "I didn't want you to find out like this," he murmured, shame etching lines into his forehead. "Like what? You think I would have preferred to hear it from someone else?" Her voice cracked, each word a deliberate step deeper into the chasm of betrayal. Clenching her fists, she fought back tears. "I never meant for it to happen," Paul insisted, running Enda through his hair in frustration. It was what? I deserve to know," she interrupted, feeling a heat rise in her chest. "You think you were protecting me by hiding this? By lying to me?" Paul flinched at her accusation, but there was a flicker of something in his expression. Regret? Fear? I didn't know how to tell you. It was just a mistake, Mia. I swear it meant nothing. Nothing? The word erupted out of her, echoing off the walls. You slept with her. How could that mean nothing? He took a step back, his eyes darkening. You don't understand. I was confused. Confused about what? Our relationship? The question hung heavy in the air. She felt the weight of its truth settle in her bones, a gnawing fear threatening to unravel everything between them. All those months together, and you want me to believe it was just a mistake. Paul looked away again, this time biting his lip, as if trying to swallow the truth that was spilling everywhere. The room shrank around them, and Mia felt her heart slam against her ribs, wild and racing. She loved him. She had trusted him. The memories came flooding back. The kitchen stained with the smell of burnt toast, late-night talks about the future, the way he held her under, the stars as if she were the only thing that mattered. Now it all felt poisoned, tainted by his betrayal. I thought we were solid, Paul. I thought we could navigate anything together, she said, her voice trembling, barely louder than a whisper. But was that ever really true? I love you, Mia. I do. He stepped forward, desperation creeping into his voice. Please, we can fix this. We can talk through it. I can make it right. Mia shook her head slowly, feeling the reality of his words sink in like ice in her veins. I don't know if I can trust you anymore. With each word, a piece of her heart chipped away, leaving her raw and exposed. But we can't just throw away everything we've built, he pleaded, reaching for her hand. But she pulled away, a tiny rebellion against the weight of his touch. She needed to feel a little more distance, a little more clarity. Everything we built? You mean the house of cards you've just toppled? She felt anger rolling through her like a tidal wave. You made a choice, Paul. Choices have consequences. The silence stretched long, punctuated only by the heavy breathing. The familiar warmth of the space was replaced with an ice-cold reality. A crack had formed, and as much as Mia wanted to bridge it, something deep inside her resisted. I didn't think this could happen to us, he finally whispered, his voice breaking. You're the best part of my life. I never wanted to hurt you. The sincerity in his tone hit her hard, and a part of her wanted to lean back into the warmth of their love, to forgive and patch things up like they had before. But the other part was rising up, fierce and protective. You already did. For a moment, neither of them moved. The room echoed with the weight of unsaid words. Her heart was pounding in her ears, drowning out everything monumental, the whispers of doubt, the memories, the love that felt both like a lifeline and a noose. Maybe we both need some time, Mia said finally, her voice steadier than she felt. The thought terrified her. Would time heal? Or would it just make the fracture more profound? Time? So you want to just walk away? He sounded lost, and the pain in his voice wrapped around her chest, causing her to wince. I don't know if I can stay, she admitted softly, her heart aching with every syllable. Not right now. Please don't do this, he begged, his voice thick with desperation. I can change. I will change. But her resolve began to waver, twisted by the love that was still there, fighting through the pain. As she considered his words, a part of her hoped for a way back to what they had, but another part was cautious. whispering a warning that perhaps the wounds were too deep. As she opened her mouth to respond, the doorbell rang, a sharp interruption slicing through their standoff. Both of them froze, unsure, the moment suspended in tense anticipation. A flicker of confusion crossed Paul's face, then a look of dread. It's probably just a neighbor, Mia said. But the words sounded hollow, even to her. Something about the ring of the bell felt significant, as if it were a harbinger of everything they had been too afraid to confront. Maybe it's not, Paul said, his eyes darting to the door, anxiety pooling in the depths of his gaze. Maybe it's someone you're not ready to see. Panic fluttered in her stomach. The uncertainty hung between them, waiting to explode. As Mia moved toward the door, she felt the weight of his gaze on her. Back. With every step, her heart raced faster, a million thoughts racing through her mind. Should she answer? Should she let what was behind the door into this raw space? She hesitated, hand gripping the doorknob. The decision felt heavy, monumental. Whatever lay on the other side would change everything. And as she took a breath, preparing to pull it open, she realized that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. The air was thick with silence, just moments before everything shattered. Jenna's heart raced, a thunderous drumbeat in her chest, drowning out the world around her. She stared at the door, waiting, no, hoping, for him to walk through. But deep down, an ominous feeling curled in her stomach like a tightening fist. This wasn't just any conversation. It felt like the last stand before all the walls came crashing down. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, echoing in the small, dimly lit room. It had been weeks since they'd seen each other. Weeks since they had dared to speak about what lay heavy between them. Each second felt like a small eternity, stretching into the realm of unbearable. Finally, she heard the key turn in the lock, and her breath hitched. David stepped in, his face unreadable. His jacket hung off one shoulder, as if he had just thrown it on in a hurry. She took in his disheveled hair and tired eyes, and a sad smile tugged at her lips. It was the same smile he'd always worn, light, but hiding the weight of something darker. "Hey," he said softly, stepping over the threshold. The word hung in the air like an apology never delivered. "Hey," Jenna replied, her voice a whisper. She felt like a predator's prey, waiting for the inevitable snap of the jaws. The silence stretched, heavy and unyielding. David shifted on his feet, unable to find comfort in the familiar setting of their living room, the one filled with echoes of laughter and love, now reduced to uncertainty. "I know we need to talk," he started, his voice faltering. "Yes, we do." She steeled herself, the warmth of familiarity throwing her off balance. "About everything." He swallowed hard, his eyes darting away. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Jenna. You have to believe me." The words twisted through her insides like a dull knife. "Hurt me?" She had practiced this moment in her head 1,000 times, aching to stay composed. Now she felt the tears pooling, threatening to spill over. "You don't get to say that. Not after everything that happened." David took a step closer, his hands racing slightly, as if to hold a shield against the truth. "I messed up. I thought it would be easier to keep it from you." "Easier? Easier for who?" Her voice rose, sharp and unyielding. "For you or for me? Because it hasn't been easier for me. I've spent nights awake, wondering what went wrong, afraid to lose everything we built. I was scared. His voice cracked. I didn't know how to handle it. And keeping secrets made it better. Jenna shook her head, the bitterness tasting sour on her tongue. You let me believe you were someone you're not. You didn't trust me enough to share your truth. With every word, the room seemed to shrink around them. The walls closed in, echoing their pain. David dropped his gaze, rubbing the back of his neck, defeated. You're right. But can't we just what? She interjected, a mixture of anger and despair swirling within her. Pretend like this is normal. Like, you didn't betray me for what? A moment's comfort. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes, and she blinked furiously to keep them at bay. The weight of betrayal hung between them, a chasm growing larger every second they lingered in uncertainty. I love you, Jenna. I always have, he said, raw vulnerability etched into his voice. I was scared of losing you, scared of what you'd think, scared of everything. Love doesn't hide the truth, David. If you loved me, you would have told me. Silence draped over them like a heavy blanket. The truth was slipping out their fingers, like sand in an hourglass. She looked at him, truly looked. His tired eyes, the flicker of regret, the bruise on his heart that mirrored her own. She wanted to forgive him, to wrap this all in a lovely bow and pretend it was easy. But the pain was too raw, too fresh. I don't know if I can trust you again, she finally said, the tremor in her voice betraying her resolve. The moment hung in limbo, a heartbeat, away from either resolution or complete destruction. David took a step forward, his hands hovering in the air, uncertain. Jenna, please, let me show you how sorry I am. I'll do anything. Anything, she dared to ask, anger leading her words. Could you erase the lies? Could you take back what you did? His silence was louder than any answer could be. Then, through the thick, tension-filled air, something shifted. Something unspoken, dark and twisted, tightened around her chest like a vice. Was there anyone else? The question slipped out before she could catch it. David went still, all colour draining from his face. No! His voice faltered, desperation creeping in. I swear, I didn't mean... It was just a mistake. Jenna. That one word floated in the air, an unthinking response. A sudden flood of dread washed over her. What do you mean, just a mistake? She felt her heart race, a flood of panic crashing against the dam of her composure. I was talking to someone. The admission hung in the air, cold and bitter. Time paused. A flicker of truth fell into the space between them. A truth veiled in shadows, slowly unwinding. Something in her gut twisted tighter, the feeling of betrayal shifting into something deeper. A revelation that would shatter whatever fragile thread still held their relationship together. Who? She breathed, her voice low and trembling with fury. He opened his mouth, but words failed him. He stood there, the shadows of doubt curling around his form. Her eyes widened in disbelief. She could feel the ground shifting beneath her. That moment, the one before everything changed, seemed to stretch into an eternity. And in that moment, she knew she was not just looking at David, but staring into the very heart of darkness that had come to define their love. The clatter of silverware echoed in the small restaurant. But it mattered little to Emily. A world of noise surrounded her as she sat across from Jake, her heart pounding in her ears, drowning out laughter and conversation. It felt as if the universe had shrunk down to this table, this moment. and every heartbeat ushered in a new kind of dread. "Emily, I need to tell you something," Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper. He fidgeted with the edge of the tablecloth, fingers twisting the fabric as if trying to escape the weight of his own words. She felt a rush of hope, mixed with fear. This was it. Their anniversary dinner, a chance to rekindle what was left of their spark. Yet, the way he avoided her gaze sent a chill down her spine. A lump lodged in her throat, the kind that warned her of the storm brewing. "Sure," she managed to say, forcing a smile that felt brittle. "What's on your mind?" Jake took a deep breath, his blue eyes darting to the side. I've been thinking about us a lot lately." The world around her slipped away. "Us?" The word tasted heavy on her tongue, filled with questions. "Yeah." His gaze fell to the table, like he was searching for something buried in its polished surface. "And I don't know how to say this, but we should break up." Silence crashed over them like a wave, drowning out the last strains of a nearby violinist. Suddenly, the restaurant felt too warm, too bright. Emily's breath hitched, and she fought the urge to laugh, not from humor, but from the utter absurdity of the moment. This couldn't be happening. "What? Why?" The words came out muffled, as if speaking through a dense fog. The clinking glasses, the sizzling pan in the kitchen, all of it blurred into an undifferentiated hum. Jake raised his eyes, wide with a mix of fear and determination. I don't think we're right for each other anymore. We've been drifting for a while. I've felt it, and I think you have too." Drifting? They had just celebrated 2 years together. They had dreams and plans, the messy but brilliant details of a shared life. She could picture them getting older, growing together. So why did it all feel like a moment slipping through her fingers? "But we can fix this," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't think we can," he said, his tone softening. "You deserve someone who can give you everything you need. I can't be that person." The truth hung in the air, a brutal honesty that left her breathless. The weight of his words pressed heavily on her chest. She could hear her heart thudding loud against his cage, the rhythmic echo of anger battling despair. She thought of all the late nights they spent wrapped in each other's arms, of laughter spilling over, the whispered secrets shared under darkened skies. Those moments felt fragile now, like paper lanterns ready to be blown away. "Jake, please, give us another chance." Her voice cracked, each word more desperate than the last. "We can try counseling. We can figure it out together." "I've been seeing someone," he said, cutting through her request like a knife. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I'm sorry." The wind knocked out of her. The room spun around her. Emily's breath hitched in her throat. "You're seeing someone? Well, She struggled to finish the sentence, the enormity of his betrayal crashing over her like a tidal wave. The anger flared in her chest, puncturing the fog of shock. Jake leaned forward, hands raised as if to shield himself. "It's complicated. The connection just happened. Complicated," she echoed, her voice rising. "Is that what you're calling it? We had plans, Jake. I thought we were solid." "I didn't mean for it to go this way," he pleaded, his sincerity mingling with frustration. "But I can't keep pretending that we can go back." The room felt smaller. Around them, life marched on, blissfully unaware of the heartbreak folding into silence. Time hung still, those seconds coiling tight, squeezing her hard until the pain sparked tears in her eyes. She pushed them back, fighting the urge to crumble. What was it? Was it something I did? She asked. Her voice a raw whisper. She pulled her hands into her lap, wishing she could just sink into the floor. Didn't you find me interesting anymore? No, Jake exclaimed, shaking his head, as if the suggestion physically pained him. It's not you, it's just... I don't know how to explain it. I feel confused. Lost. With each word, Emily felt pieces of herself shatter. You think I haven't felt that way too? Her voice was lower now, trembling. I thought we could work through it together, but instead... She inhaled sharply, clawing for composure. Emily, I'm sorry, he said, the softness in his tone almost unbearable. I thought you should know before it went any further with her. Each word pulled her deeper into despair, spiraling her thoughts into places she wished to avoid. The anger bubbled beneath the surface, but so did a deep sense of betrayal. So what now? She asked, holding his gaze with an intensity she had never felt before. Do you just walk away from everything we built? The silence that followed was deafening, a chasm that felt impossible to bridge. She shifted in her seat, the chair scraping against the floor, an unsettling reminder of the distance between them. There's a lot to think about, he murmured, shifting his gaze to the flickering candle on the table, unable to look her in the eyes. The truth settled in, heavy and ugly. Emily swallowed hard, the lump in her throat refusing to budge. In that moment, she realized she was not just losing Jake. She was losing a part of herself. She looked out the window, watching life go on beyond their dark corner. But there was one final question clawing at her insides, one that demanded to be voiced. Is there any chance you'll come back? She asked, heart pounding in her chest. He hesitated, and in that moment of silence, she felt the world tilt, teetering on, the edge of a decision between love and loss. But his eyes darted away, and she knew he had already answered. Emily, That's when the door swung open, a gust of cold air cutting through the warmth of their shared moment. A woman stepped inside, and all eyes turned to her, whispering gasps trailing in her wake. Emily's heart stopped. The woman's face, the unmistakable curve of her smile, anchored their hopes in a shattering reality. It was her. All this time, Jake had been hiding her, right in front of Emily's face. In that instant, the space between what once was and what could have been collapsed, and shadows stretched over the dim table, leaving everything hanging in the balance. The old wooden table creaked under the weight of unspoken words. Amy could feel the heat creeping into her cheeks, her stomach knotting tighter. She had rehearsed this conversation 1,000 times in her head. Yet her throat felt like it was filled with shards of glass as she stared at the worn tabletop, refusing to meet Ben's gaze. Just tell me, Amy, Ben said, his voice strained but calm, as if he knew what she was about to say would crush them both. He leaned forward, his hands splayed, flat on the table, as if willing the truth to rise between them like a ghost. She had to do it. She had to break the silence that had stretched between them for the last few weeks, festering like an open wound. But every time she opened her mouth, the breath caught. There felt like a betrayal. How did it come to this? How had two people who once fit together like puzzle pieces now found themselves on opposite sides of a chasm? I don't know how to start, she finally managed. The words slipping out in a rush, like a floodgate unleashing a torrent. "Just say it." He looked at her, desperation suddenly sparking in his eyes. There was pain there too, deep lines forming around his mouth, his shoulders heavy as if carrying a weight only she could see. She hesitated, clenching her fists under the table, willing herself not to pull away. "I can't keep living this lie anymore. I don't love you like I used to. I don't think I ever really did." Silence draped over the room, like a dark cloud. Ben blinked slowly, processing her words, as if he were trying to piece together a broken equation in his mind. He straightened, and the very air seemed to thicken with tension. I thought we were happy," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Happy," she scoffed, the word tasting bitter on her lips. "You mean the way you pretend everything is fine when you're drowning in your work? Or how you never listen to me anymore? It's like we're strangers now." He looked down, nodding slightly, as if her words were unearthing memories he had buried deep. "I know I've been busy, but it's just work. You have to believe me." "Believe you?" The anger bubbled up, and she almost shouted. But instead she took a deep breath to ground herself, softening her tone. "Ben, I want to believe you. I really do. But how can I when you never make time for us? For me?" Every word felt like a dagger, cutting through their shared past. Ben looked shattered, and she wished she could take it all back. But it was too late. The truth had come tumbling out, unfiltered and raw. "I was letting you be the strong one," he said slowly, pushing past her harsh words. "You always know how to fight for what you want. You always knew how to fight for me. And somewhere along the way, I stopped trying." He was right. She used to believe in them fiercely, clawing through the dark patches, trying to find the light. But in the shadows of their relationship, she'd grown tired of carrying the weight alone. The truth was, she didn't want to fight anymore. The silence stretched again, heavy and uncomfortable. Amy could hear the clock ticking in the background, marking every agonizing second. "I can't do this anymore, Ben," she said finally, her voice trembling. "I want you to be happy, but I'm suffocating, and it's killing me too." As she spoke, she could feel the fragile shell of their life together cracking. The comfortable ignorance they had wrapped around themselves was fraying, revealing the bitter truth underneath. Ben took a deep breath, and his gaze locked onto hers, finally drinking in the reality that had slipped from his grasp. "So, that's it?" he asked, voice barely a whisper, as if the words stung to say, "You just give up?" "I'm not giving up. I'm letting go." As the tears started forming in her eyes, she blinked them away, refusing to let him see her break. "You deserve better than what I'm able to give you, and I deserve to find whatever it is that makes me feel whole again. I can't do that if I'm lying to you." He fell silent, his eyes searching her face, pleading for something, anything. But there was nothing left to be said. The world outside seemed to fade into a blur, and all Amy could hear was the pounding of her heart in her ears. "I don't want to lose you." His voice cracked, the weight of his admission crashing down around them. "I don't want to lose you either," she said, her own heart breaking for the man in front of her. "But I have to put myself first for once." Tension crackled in the air as both of them held their breaths, suspended in this moment that felt like both a beginning and an end. "Then what happens now?" he asked, searching her eyes for a hint of hope. "I don't know," she replied, voice faint. But we can't keep pretending. Ben slumped back in his chair, the fight leaving him. He looked out the window, where the clouds hung low in the sky, heavy with impending rain. And just like that, the storm began to brew inside their fragile hearts. But as the first drop of rain fell against the glass, a sudden voice cut through their silence, echoing from the hallway. "Are you two going to be much longer? I really need to talk to you both." Both of their heads turned toward the door, hearts pounding, not in response to the revelation they had just faced, but to the fear of what came next. The voice belonged to Sarah, Ben's younger sister, and she sounded frantic. Amy's heart raced. She knew this couldn't end just like that. The storm within her swelled once again. A clash of betrayal, unresolved emotions, and looming consequences. "Ben," she began. But the weight of that moment hung heavy in the air. A crack in their world, a revelation that was far from over. The phone slipped from Danny's hand, clattering on the wooden floor, echoing like a gunshot in the stillness of the room. She stood frozen, her breath shallow and fast, as if she were pulling air through a tight, desperate straw. Time wavered, stretching like taffy, thick and suffocating. "Please tell me this isn't true," she whispered, her voice trembling even as she hoped against hope. Across the table, Jake stared at her, his face pale, eyes wide with something that felt a lot like regret. The sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the sorrow hanging between them like a heavy curtain. His silence cut deeper than any words could. Danny's heart raced, pounding a frantic rhythm of betrayal. "It's just a misunderstanding," he said finally, his voice thick with the weight of deception. "I never..." She slammed her palm against the table, her breath hitching. "A misunderstanding? You slept with someone else, Jake. There's nothing misunderstood about that." The impact of her words hung in the air, a palpable force that pushed them both back in their seats. She swiped at the tears threatening to spill, angry at their weakness, angry at him. This wasn't what she envisioned when they planned their future. Sunshine and laughter, not shattered glass and twisted dreams. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said, desperation creeping into his voice. He leaned forward, but she recoiled instinctively, as if he had reached out to grab her. "Didn't mean to," she echoed, eyes narrowing, her anger igniting a fire deep within her. "That's the excuse you're going with? You think that makes it better?" He flinched at her words, like a dog scolded for something it didn't understand. "No, I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I never wanted to lose you." Danny shook her head, the pain clawing at her chest. "Lose me? You already chose to lose me the second you decided to sleep with someone else." The truth of her words felt like a brick in her throat. They had been together for 3 years. 3 years filled with laughter and dreams of a shared life. Everything they built was turned to ash in an instant. She could picture it. Their wedding, the little house, children running through the yard. All of it was gone, swept away with a moment of weakness. "Please, Danny." He reached for her again, and this time she let him take her hand. It felt wrong, but she was desperate to feel something other than the jagged edges of betrayal. "Stop," she said, pulling away. "You don't get to touch me. You don't get to act like you're the one hurting. I am hurting. Not like this." She cut him off, her voice rising. "You want to talk about pain? Try knowing that the person you love doesn't love you enough to resist temptation. Try standing here and feeling like you don't even know the person you're supposed to trust. His face was a mix of shame and desperation. I was stupid, Danny. I thought it was just a fling. Something to escape from the pressure. I didn't think. Of course you didn't think, she shouted, her voice striking them both like lightning. You never think of anyone but yourself, it seems. For a moment, they lingered in silence, the only sound their heavy, broken breaths hanging in the air. Each inhale felt monumental, like a step further into a chasm of uncertainty. She could feel the trembling in her gut, echoing the storm rising in her chest. The betrayal felt like a wound that wouldn't heal, just fresh enough to bleed. I didn't want to hurt you, Jake said again, his voice softening, almost pleading. You've got to believe me. I love you. You've got to know that. Love, she scoffed, shaking her head, the disbelief fueling her anger. What does love even mean now? It's just a word to you, isn't it? A way to mask your mistakes. His eyes glistened, and for a moment she thought he might cry. Did he feel the weight of what they lost? Did he know the emptiness curling around her heart? Danny, he began, his voice scarcely a whisper. I can't imagine my life without you. Her heart twisted painfully at that admission. The genuine sorrow in his eyes terrifying and exhilarating all at once. She wanted to believe him. A small part of her ached to climb back into his embrace and pretend this was just a bad dream. Then why did you do it? She shook her head again, fighting the tears spilling over. How could you throw it all away? He buried his head in his hands, a broken man before her. She watched him struggle, feeling both sympathy and rage in equal measure. This was not just about him. It was about her, about them. Danny, he finally said, his voice muffled. I can make it right. Just give me a chance, please. Make it right, she repeated, bitterness seeping through her words. How do you undo a betrayal? You can't take that back. Silence wrapped around them like an icy blanket. Her heart was pounding, but in the stillness, something shifted inside her. A realization. She was standing at the edge of a point of no return. A precipice she could either leap from or walk away. Maybe I never wanted to be the one left behind, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But now, I think I need to leave. For me. In those words, the gravity of the moment hung heavy in the air. A moment teetering on the brink of everything that could change. With a single choice, she could rewrite her story, or remain shackled in the chains of someone else's mistakes. She looked into his eyes, searching for a flicker of hope, but found only despair reflected back. The door of possibility was open, and behind it lay pain, but also freedom. With trembling fingers, she pushed herself up from the table, leaving Jake staring after her, a whole universe of regret swirling between them. As Danny stepped into the hallway, she hesitated, heart racing. Could she really walk away? One last time, she glanced back at him. What was she leaving behind? The past tugged at her, but the future beckoned. Danny, he called, desperation tinging his tone. Don't leave like this. The words echoed in the silence, and she turned caught between two walls. One foot in the pain of today, and one in the possibility of tomorrow. The choice was hers alone, but as she stood on that edge, the weight of her decision felt monumental. The point of no return had come, and she was ready to leap. or run. But what awaited her on the other side remained a mystery. Riley stood in the middle of the dimly lit room, heart racing like a trapped bird desperate to escape. The air felt thick, heavy with unspoken words and the scent of regret. She clenched her fists, the cool metal of the key in her pocket, biting into the flesh of her palm. She was just a girl trying to survive in a world that had turned upside down. But something inside felt different today. Today, she was ready. The door creaked open, and there he was. Jake. The person she had trusted the most. The one who had held her secrets in his hands like fragile glass. A mixture of emotions crossed his face as he stepped inside. Surprise, confusion, maybe even fear. But rejection loomed high above them, carving the space between them into something unbridgeable. "Riley," he said, a hint of uncertainty lacing his voice. "What are you doing here? Why didn't you tell me, Jake?" Her voice broke, a wave of pent-up emotion crashing over her. "I found the texts, the pictures. Do you even understand what you did?" Jake flinched at the accusation, stepping further into the room. The door clicked shut behind him, trapping them in a bubble of tension. "I can explain." "Explain?" She cut him off, energy buzzing like electricity in her veins. "You want to explain how you betrayed me? How you kissed her? How you—" "Riley, listen." Panic flashed in his eyes. He ran a hand through his hair, the messy strands standing up like thorns. "It was a mistake. I wasn't thinking. I'm so sorry." "No," she whispered, the word hanging in the air thick and heavy. She took a deep breath, tasting the salt of tears she refused to shed. "You had to think about it, Jake. You chose her." Silence enveloped them, a silence that felt like a raging storm brewing just beneath the surface. Jake's expression shifted, hurt blending with anger. "So this is it? You're just going to throw everything away? All those memories?" "What memories, Jake?" Riley shot back, her voice rising, echoing off the walls. "Memories don't mean anything if they only come from lies." He stepped closer, desperation etched in his features. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought—" "Thought what?" Her words struck like daggers. "That you could have both of us? That you could play us against each other? I'm not some game you can win and lose. I thought you knew me better than that." His eyes widened, an understanding washing over his face. "I did it because you were weak," she interrupted again, her cheeks burning. "Because I wasn't enough. Just say it. Just admit that you couldn't resist." "Riley, please." His voice trembled. "I never wanted to hurt you. But you did." The weight of her words felt like broken glass. "You broke me, Jake." He stepped back as if she had physically struck him. The air crackled between them, sharp and charged, like a long-held breath finally escaping. For a moment, they stood there, battling reality, the abyss of their feelings stretching endlessly before them. Would he apologize? Would he take responsibility? Or would he try to salvage his own pride? "You don't know the whole story," he said finally, his voice low, almost pleading. "It wasn't just about her. It was also about me needing to feel something again, something real." "Real?" She laughed bitterly, a shallow sound that echoed off the walls. "You think what you did was real? Is tearing apart someone's heart real? Do you even know what that feels like, Jake?" When he was silent, she saw the truth in his eyes. He didn't. Not really. He didn't understand the depths of betrayal or the pain of trust shattered. And as the realization hit her, something shifted within her. No more tears, no more begging for his understanding. This was her moment. She would reclaim it. "Riley," he started again, but she raised her hand. "Save it." She took a step back, brushed past him, and pulled the key from her pocket, holding it out like a talisman. "I didn't come here to fight. I came to take my life back." Jake's eyes darted to the key, confusion mingling with a flicker of alarm. "What do you mean?" "Remember those nights I spent talking about the gallery? How I wanted to create something beautiful out of disarray?" She paused to catch her breath, feeling the weight of her own desires crash over her. "I'm finally going to do it. I'm taking my art to the next level, and I won't let you or anyone else stand in my way." He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. The air between them charged with unspoken emotions. Riley could see fear in his eyes as she turned toward the door, feeling the exhilaration of strength pooling deep in her chest. "Wait!" His voice broke through the haze, urgent and raw. "What if you regret it? What if it doesn't work out?" "Then I'll have only myself to blame," she replied, a sense of liberation washing over her. "But at least I tried." As she reached for the handle, a sudden thought pierced her. "And what about you? Are you really ready to live with the weight of knowing how much you hurt me? Can you live with that?" The sound of her own heartbeat drummed loudly in her ears as she waited for his answer, the air electric with unanswered questions and regrets. His face contorted, indecision swimming in his eyes. Just as she prepared to walk out, a desperate shout stopped her in her tracks. "Riley!" She turned slowly, ready for a fight, only to find Jake's face pale with a flicker of realization. "What now?" she demanded, her heart heavy with a mix of dread and hope. "After everything, are you really going to throw it all away?" The question hung in the air, a tender fracture between them, and she paused just long enough for his words to seep into her. But before she could respond, her phone chimed, a message lighting up the screen. "Where are you?" With a glance at Jake, her breath hitched in her throat. The name flashed in bold letters, Eve. The revelation hit her like a brick. The payback she had begun wasn't just about her and Jake. It was about the secrets that ran deeper than betrayal. Secrets that could unravel everything she thought she knew. Anna stood in the dim light of the empty cafe, the weight of 1,000 unsaid words pressing heavy on her chest. The aroma of stale coffee lingered in the air, but it was the unsettling silence that gnawed at her. She gripped her phone tightly, her fingers trembling slightly as she glanced at the door with a mix of hope and dread. "He's late," she thought, pressing her lips together to stifle the wave of nerves. Moments later, the door creaked open. Jamie sauntered in, his casual demeanor sharply contrasting the storm brewing inside Anna. He didn't notice her at first, his eyes scanning the room, searching for something, or someone. When their gazes finally met, Anna felt the familiar jolt of affection mixed with disbelief, like being hit by a cold wave in midsummer. "Hey, sorry I'm late," he said, his voice breezy, yet lacking the warmth she always expected. He took a seat across from her, dropping his backpack with a soft thud, completely oblivious to the tension pulsating between them. "It's fine," she managed, forcing a smile. Anna could see the little curl of his lips, the slight lift of his eyebrows, those little things that had once charmed her heart. But right now, they felt cruel. "Did you get my messages?" "Yeah, I saw them." He casually dismissed her with a wave of his hand. "What's up?" She hesitated. The up was everything. The betrayal that had shattered the fragile trust they built. The whispered conversations she had overheard when she thought she wasn't listening. The feelings of being washed away, like sandcastles under a relentless tide. "There's something we need to talk about." A flicker of concern momentarily clouded Jamie's features. "Okay," he replied, leaning back, the nonchalance creeping back into his posture. "What's on your mind?" Anna took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her ears. "I heard you and Lexi talking last week." The words tumbled out, each syllable heavy with the weight of what they meant. His grin faltered, and for a brief moment the mask slipped. "Anna, No, just let me finish," she interrupted, the tremor in her voice betraying the calm facade she tried to maintain. "You said things I never expected from you. I thought we were on the same team." Jamie's eyes narrowed with disbelief. "It was nothing. Just a joke, Anna." "A joke?" she echoed, her voice rising higher, carrying an edge of hurt. "You think it's funny to call me not worth the effort behind my back?" Silence fell between them, thick and unyielding. Jamie's expression betrayed a mix of surprise and guilt, but as quickly as it appeared, it vanished, replaced with a defensive demeanor. "Look, everyone jokes. You know how Lexi is. It didn't mean anything." "It meant something to me," Anna insisted, the floodgates of her emotion breaking open. "You're the one who talked about how deep our connection was, how rare it felt. Did that mean nothing? Because it sounds like you're just tossing words around when it's convenient." He sighed, raking a hand through his hair, frustration etched on his face. "I didn't want you to find out like this." Anna leaned in, the distance between them shrinking. Yet this did little to bridge the chasm that had appeared overnight. "Then why did you let it happen? Why didn't you stop it?" "I wasn't thinking straight." The words burst out from Jamie, his voice raised, and people at nearby tables turned to look. He lowered his tone as if sensing the audience. "Things have been hard for me, too." "Hard?" she challenged, feeling the pulsing ache of betrayal tightening its grip around her heart. "I've been here through everything. I stood by you. And you're turning around and making jokes behind my back." Jamie glanced away, the corners of his mouth tightening as he wrestled with his feelings. Anna could see his internal battle, love tangled with his own fears and desires. But the shadows creeping into his eyes made her realize she was losing him bit by bit. "Anna, I care about you," he finally said softly, his voice catching. "You know that. I messed up. But you don't get to take that back." Her chest tightened at the realization that the walls she had built were now towering between them, caustic and sharp. "I can't just unhear what I heard." A heavy pause settled. Outside, the wind rattled the trees, mirroring the storm churning in her heart. Jamie looked at her, really looked at her, as if he was seeing her for the first time. Behind the bravado, there was a flicker of regret and loss. "Anna, please." His plea was soft, barely above a whisper, but it sliced through her defenses. "I want to fix this. You and me." "I don't know if I can trust you," she interrupted, her voice shaky. Trust was everything. And now? She trailed off, letting the words hang like a raw nerve between them. In that beat, everything changed. The anger, the hurt. They scattered, leaving only the painful awareness of the inevitable distance growing wider. "I don't know what else to say," Jamie finally admitted, his voice tinged with a sorrow she had never heard from him before. The silence grew heavy, suffocating, and Anna felt the tears prick behind her eyes, threatening to spill over the dam she had built. They locked eyes, and in that moment, she saw not just him, but a reflection of her own heartbreak, her shattered dreams, a future that felt eerily uncertain. "Maybe it's just too late," she said, each word tasting bitter. She turned her gaze away. As she pushed back from the table, ready to walk away from everything they had, Jamie's voice broke through the stillness. "Anna, wait, please." But she couldn't stay. Not in this moment. Not in this confusion. She paused at the door, breathing heavily, feeling the weight of countless memories and what-ifs crashing down. And as she stepped outside, a chill swept through her, chilling her to the bone. The world around her felt different, as if the colors had dimmed, the sounds muffled. Each step felt like a farewell to all she had known, and the ache of betrayal clung to her like a second skin. Behind her, she could have sworn she heard Jamie say something else, something she could never take back. But it was lost in the wind, just like him. The air in the cramped coffee shop was thick with the smell of burnt espresso and something sweeter, perhaps betrayal. Jake sat at a corner table, his fingers tapping nervously on the surface, the clattering echoing in his ears. He'd never been good at waiting, but today stretched the boundaries of his patience like a rubber band ready to snap. He glanced at the door for what felt like the 100th time, his heart racing. Emma was late. That wasn't like her. 1 week ago, they were laughing, sharing dreams, drawing plans for a future that felt bright and certain. But today? Today felt like a storm rolling in, dark clouds swirling with thunderous potential. His thoughts spiraled back to their last conversation, light-hearted and carefree. "I can't wait to show you my favorite place," she had said, her eyes sparkling like the stars. They were planning a weekend trip, just the two of them, to a secluded cabin hidden deep in the woods. The thought made him smile, even now. But now doubt wrapped its icy fingers around his heart. With a jolt, the door swung open, and Emma rushed inside, her hair tousled by the wind and her cheeks flushed. Relief flooded through him, quickly chased by concern at the look on her face. Something was off. Her eyes darted about as if searching for an escape. "Hey," she greeted, her voice shaky as she slid into the seat opposite him. "Sorry I'm late." "It's okay," Jake replied, trying to mask the anxiety creeping into his voice. "Are you okay?" Her gaze fell to the table, avoiding his eyes. I need to tell you something." He felt the world tilt on its axis, the air thickening around them as tension seeped into the space. "What is it? You're worrying me." His heart raced at the thought that she might be about to end things. A long pause followed, heavy and suffocating. Emma took a deep breath, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of the tablecloth. "I've been seeing someone else." The words hit Jake like a punch to the gut. The space dimmed around him, the chatter of the coffee shop fading into a dull hum. He could barely process what he'd just heard. "What?" He managed, his voice low, barely above a whisper. "It just happened, Jake. It happened while I didn't mean for it to, she stammered, her cheeks flushing crimson. I'm so sorry. I don't understand. How could you? His heart raced, a million thoughts colliding in his mind. We were happy. Or at least, I thought we were. I never wanted to hurt you, she said, tears brimming in her eyes, threatening to spill over. But things, they changed. I changed. Jake felt like he was drowning. He'd trusted her completely. He remembered the way they shared long nights, talking about their hopes and dreams. It felt like they were built on something strong. Who is he? The question slipped out, edged with contempt he didn't mean to show. He's just someone from work. It didn't mean anything at first, but... She trailed off, her gaze falling to her lap as if she couldn't bear to see him. Didn't mean anything? Are you serious? Anger bubbled inside him. But beneath that anger lay a deep-seated hurt. You've been seeing someone? And it didn't mean anything? Jake, please, I was confused. You know how stressful things have been. I didn't want to lose you. She looked up, tears trickling down her cheeks. His heart ached at the sight of her pain, but his own was sharper. You didn't think I had a right to know? You didn't think I deserved the truth? Silence filled the space between them. Jake couldn't take it anymore, words spilling out like a dam breaking. You don't get to say you don't want to lose me, and then do this. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. Her lips trembled. And for a moment, it felt as if time stood still. Jake stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor, drawing a few glances from the other customers. He took a step back, his mind spinning. I need some air. Jake, she called, her voice fragile. Don't go. But he was already outside, the fresh air hitting him like a cold slap. He leaned against the brick wall of the shop, trying to collect his thoughts, his breath coming in uneven gasps. The rush of the street felt disorienting. People were going about their lives, laughing, talking, completely unaware of the storm that raged within him. What did he do now? He could feel the pieces of his heart crumbling. They had plans, love, written in the stars, and now it felt like ash in his mouth. The longing for the way things once were clawed at him. He pulled out his phone, fingers shaking, hovering over her name. He had so many questions, so many things he wanted to say. But right then, all he could feel was the crushing weight of betrayal. The unbearable truth that the future he envisioned was slipping through his fingers. Before he could second-guess himself, he dialed the number anyway, his heart pounding. It rang and rang. And just as he thought she wouldn't pick up, he heard her voice on the other end. Jake, is that you? He choked on his words, heart racing, both hopeful and terrified. Emma, please don't hang up, she pleaded. But before he could respond, he caught a glimpse of the movement from the corner of his eye. A figure stepped from an adjacent alley, and Jake's throat tightened. He knew that face. It was the guy from work, the one Emma had mentioned. The call slipped from his hand, falling to the ground as the screen cracked under the weight of what he was about to face. The door slammed shut, sending a reverberating thud through the dimly lit room. Olivia's heart raced as she turned to face him, her breath hitching in her throat. You lied to me, Ethan, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, like a fragile wisp in the storm brewing between them. Ethan's cold stare cut through her, each word slithering from his mouth like venom. It's not what you think, Liv. I did it to protect you. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that used to comfort her, but now only added to the storm of confusion swelling in her chest. That's just it, she exclaimed, stepping forward, anger and hurt morphing into something sharper. You think I can't handle the truth? You think I'm a child? He flinched, and for a split second, she saw the cracks in his facade. But just as quickly, he hardened again, crossing his arms over his chest. She wished he hadn't put that wall up. It made her feel small, trapped under the weight of what they once had. The memories that now felt like distant echoes of happiness. Liv, please. I didn't plan for any of this to happen, Ethan said, his voice breaking slightly, the edge of desperation creeping in. You have to believe me. It was supposed to be a simple job. I didn't know what they were involved in. I swear, do you even hear yourself? She shot back. You keep saying you didn't know, but you made choices. You chose to lie instead of coming to me. And now I can't even recognize the man I fell in love with. Silence fell heavy between them, an oppressive fog that made the air feel thick and suffocating. Olivia could see his jaw tighten. She could hear the rapid beating of her heart in her ears, drowning out the memories of laughter, late-night talks, and stolen kisses that lingered like ghosts in their cramped apartment. Ethan turned away, running a hand down his face, as if trying to wipe away the words that hung like lead between them. I thought I was doing the right thing, Liv, he murmured, almost to himself. Right for who? She probed, a mixture of rage and sorrow bubbling up inside her. For you? For your safety? What about me? You kept me in the dark while you were playing with fire. Were you ever going to tell me? I didn't want you involved. I didn't want you to get hurt. He snapped, his voice rising. The anger felt familiar, like a track they had spun together countless times. But this time, it held no warmth, only the sharpness of betrayal. How could you think that by lying to me? By dragging me deeper while keeping me at arm's length? I deserve the truth, even if it hurts. Her words tore through the air, raw and unfiltered. Ethan's shoulders fell, and a deep breath escaped his lips. Olivia, ever since I took this job, things have spiraled out of control. The people I got involved with. He paused, his voice faltering, the fear evident in his eyes. You don't understand. They don't play fair. They threatened all of us. I couldn't let them near you. Threatened? Her voice turned icy, and the sight of Ethan's face twisted in remorse made her stomach clench. What kind of people? What trouble are we talking about? If you truly cared for me, you would tell me everything. Or is it just about your guilt now? I didn't want to endanger you, he said, pain pooling in his eyes. He stepped forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper, trembling as if he were sharing a deep secret. I swear it was supposed to be a simple job, just a quick delivery. And then they... Who, Ethan? Who are they? Her chest tightened, the clenching sensation making it hard to breathe. She needed to understand, to connect the pieces of this dark puzzle that had invaded their lives. Listen, Liv, he continued, voice breaking again. If I tell you, it might change everything. You might be better off not knowing. You don't want to be dragged into this. You don't understand the danger. Try me. I'm not a child anymore. The words erupted out of her, fueled by adrenaline and despair. We can face it together if we are honest with each other, if we still care. The truth shot through his veins, visible in the tense muscles of his jaw. He looked like a man caught between two worlds, one filled with light that shone whenever he was with her, and the shadowy abyss threatening to swallow them whole. I can't let you get hurt. She held her breath, staring into his eyes. Within the depths of those pools lay secrets, every flicker revealing despair and tremors of regret that gnawed at the edges of their love. You're hurt, and I'm hurt too. But you shutting me out doesn't protect me. It only makes me feel more lost. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but nothing came out. A moment stretched infinitely between them. Memories flickering like a faulty light bulb. Laughter, love, commitment, and pain mingling together. Finally, they're dangerous people. I don't even know what they'll do next. They know who you are, Liv. He whispered, his voice trembling. And they don't want loose ends. Olivia felt herself go cold. What do you mean? His gaze dropped to the floor, filled with a kind of heavy sorrow she had never seen before. I think they might come for you. The words landed like a thunderclap. The house spun around them, darkness swirling in the edges of her vision as she processed the reality of his confession. Danger. And not for him, but for her. Before she could say anything, the loud sound of shattering glass cut through the quiet moment, echoes of destruction pouring into their lives. And in that instant, as fear gripped her heart, she realized that the fight for their love was only just beginning. Anna stood at the edge of the small cliff, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Below her, the churning sea crashed against the rocks, sending salty mist into the air. It was beautiful and terrifying, just like everything in her life right now. She took a deep breath, trying to steady the whirlwind inside her. "Why, Jack?" she whispered, her voice barely above the roar of the waves. "Why did you do it?" Jack appeared behind her, hesitant and unsure. He shuffled his feet, the gravel crunching under his weight. "Anna, he started, but the words tangled in his throat. Anna turned to face him, and the expression on his face broke her heart even more than she thought it could. His blue eyes, usually so full of warmth, were clouded with something she couldn't identify. Regret? Shame? Desperation? She searched his face as if the answer would magically appear written in the lines of his features. "You knew how much this meant to me," she said, her voice rising. "How could you betray me with Kelly? She was our friend, Jack." "I didn't mean for it to happen," he replied, running a hand through his messy hair. "It was a mistake." "A mistake?" she interrupted, clutching her fist to keep her emotions in check. "A mistake is tripping over a rock. This is unforgivable." He stepped closer, the space between them crackling with tension. "Can't we talk about this? I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix this." Anna took a step back, her pulse quickening as the weight of the truth crashed over her stronger than the waves below. "You promised you would never hurt me. You swore that." The silence hung heavy, the only sound the relentless wind whiplashing around them. Jack looked down, his self-assured facade crumbling, revealing a boy lost and scared. Anna felt the anger loosening its grip, replaced by a deep, gnawing pain in her chest. I don't know how it happened," he confessed, his voice cracking. "One moment, we were talking, and then it just happened. I pushed her away after, I swear. It meant nothing to me. Anna almost laughed. She felt hollow, betrayed not just by Jack, but also by the memories of their laughter and shared dreams. After all those late nights spent laying in the grass, dreaming of the future. How could this happen? Jack stepped forward. Please, Anna. I love you. You have to believe that. It was a mistake. I want you, not her. For a fleeting moment, the tenderness in his voice softened the sharp edges of her heartache. But then the memories surged, the laughter shared over coffee, the spontaneous road trips, the quiet nights spent planning their lives together. She saw it all, filtered through betrayal. Love, she spat. What do you know about love? Love doesn't hurt the person you claim to care about. Please, just listen to... Listen, she shot back, fury igniting again. What is there to listen to? You took a part of me, and I can't just ignore that. I thought you were different. I thought we were stronger than this. Jack's expression twisted with sorrow, and for a brief second she caught a glimpse of the man she had fallen in love with. I thought so too, he said quietly. But I messed it all up. Her breath hitched as she felt the tightness in her throat. Messed it up? That's all you have to say? It's all I can say, Jack exclaimed, desperation flooding his tone. I can't change what I did, but I can change what comes next. Give me a chance to make it right. I can prove it to you. She held his gaze, searching for sincerity but finding only helplessness. Anna leaned back, her body trembling. How? He took a deep breath, the weight of his shame somehow palpable. Whatever it takes. I'll talk to Kelly. I'll make it clear that it was a mistake. I'll do anything. Just don't walk away. Walk away? Anna chuckled bitterly. You walked away the moment you kissed her. Jack's shoulders slumped, and he looked away. The storm within them was raging harder than the one in the ocean. Anna, I love you, he said again. But it felt weaker now, as if he were trying to piece together a broken mirror. Anna's heart ached, a soft thud against the pounding uncertainty. She thought about what it would mean to stay, to try and forgive. But could she ever truly forget? Tell me, Jack, she demanded, her voice trembling. Was it a one-time thing? Or was it something you wanted? Jack stammered, opening and closing his mouth, searching for the right words. But silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. It was just one mistake, he finally replied. Her heart sank into the depths of her stomach. One mistake? Had he ever seen how they'd built their dreams, layer by layer, only for him to tear it apart in an instant? Tell me the truth, Anna yelled, frustration bubbling over. What if it meant more to her? What if it meant more to you? He hesitated, and in that hesitation, his truth hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to unleash hell. Anna couldn't breathe, the fear of the unknown wrapping around her throat. Suddenly, the vibe shifted. Jack's expression hardened, and he stepped forward again, a ferocity to him that she hadn't noticed before. What if I told you it was more than just a mistake? What if I told you I don't know what I want? The world tilted, and Anna stumbled back. What? Maybe I really am confused, he continued, the weight of his admission slicing through her. Maybe there's something inside me I need to figure out. Is that what you've been hiding all along? She took a deep breath, shock flooding her veins. All this time, you've been thinking about her. I don't know, he shouted, frustration and pain painting his features. But I know I don't want to lose you. The waves crashed violently against the rocks below, matching the tempest within Anna. She stood there, frozen in the moment, the truth hanging heavy in the air. Was love something they could salvage, or was it already too late? In his eyes she saw something breaking, and in her heart the finality of their connection began to unravel, one tightly wound thread at a time. "What happens now?" she finally whispered, her voice trembling. Jack blinked, the realization of their precarious point laying bare between them. In that silence, they both understood. Whatever choice lay ahead, it would change everything. Hannah stared at the smouldering remnants of her childhood home, the orange glow of the dawn sun leaking over the horizon like warm tears. How could a lifetime of memories turn to ash in a matter of hours? The smell of charred wood and smoke still clung to her clothes, a heavy reminder of the night that stole everything. "Mom!" she called out, her voice cracking. It echoed back to her, a painful reminder that the woman who used to cradle her in her arms wasn't here anymore. Just a week ago, they had shared pancake breakfasts and whispered secrets under the blanket fort in the living room. And now? The only thing left was a skeleton of steel and soot. A cough broke the silence. Hannah turned to see her father, Michael, staggering towards her, his face coated with soot and his eyes wide with shock. He looked a decade older, the grey around his temples glowing white in the sunlight. We need to find her," he said, voice rough yet determined, but deeper than she had ever heard it before. There was something distant in his gaze, as though part of him was still burning in that house. "Dad, she's gone." The last word was like breaking glass in her throat. She had said it too many times already, and every syllable felt like another nail driven into her heart. The night of the fire had flared and cracked her family apart, just like everything else. She could still be, he began, trying to convince himself more than her. But they both knew it was over. Hannah's chest tightened, a whirlwind of anger clawing at her from within. "Stop it!" she shouted, her voice catching on the wind. "You can't just act like this never happened." She hugged herself, feeling small and lost. She didn't want to think of her mother smiling, brushing her hair back in the morning sun. It cut too deep. Michael flinched back, hands raised defensively. "I'm trying to hold it together," he yelled in return. His eyes glassed over with unshed tears, yet the fury crackled between them like live wires. "Your mother was everything to me, to us, and now..." Hannah turned away, feeling the tears spill over. She couldn't bear to see him break down. Not again. In the last few weeks, she'd witnessed her father's stoicism eat away at him like the flames that had consumed their home. "We have to focus," she said softly, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "We can't keep pretending she might still walk through that door." For a moment, silence hung heavily in the air, the reality of their situation wrapping tightly around them. The fire had taken more than just their home. It had ripped apart their hopes, their warmth. After a moment, Michael's shoulders slumped. "What do we do now?" he asked, the fire in his voice extinguished. The question hung like a deep pit in the space between them. "They'll find her, Dad." The lie stung as she spoke it, each syllable tasting bitter on her tongue. "They're searching the rubble." He nodded slowly, But the hope in his eyes was fading, transforming into a hollow stare. They stood together, two broken pieces of a puzzle, each too afraid to hold on or let go. A wave of guilt surged through Hannah. Why was she the one hopeful when her father was drowning in despair? "Listen to me," she said suddenly, stepping closer to him. "Mum wouldn't want us to—" A crackling radio interrupted her, a firefighter nearby relaying updates. The sound stung her ears, snapping both their heads in its direction. "We've recovered some belongings already. Keep searching the east wing and remember to look low." Hannah's breath hitched. With shaking hands, she covered her mouth. "They found something," she gasped. Michael's posture changed instantly. He straightened up, hope flooding back into his eyes like oxygen to a fire. "What? What did they find?" "I don't know. We should go see." Together, they moved towards the debris, their pace quickening as they approached a cluster of firefighters huddled by a pile. The flames had long since been put out, but the embers of their loss still crackled loudly in their hearts. Hannah's feet felt heavy in the dust-covered ground, the weight of uncertainty pulling her back. She feared that whatever they found might not be the closure she naively craved. As they got closer, the shapes progressed into clearer context. An overturned chair, a crumpled photo frame, pieces of what once held laughter and whispers. One firefighter spotted them, his face grim. "We believe we found some personal items." He gestured towards a small soot-blackened box. It was lodged under some beams. Hannah's heart raced. Could it be her mother's jewelry box? The one filled with brittle memories and laughter? Her fingers itched with anticipation. "Can we see it?" Michael asked, voice low and urgent. The firefighter nodded, but before the box was lifted, a slow realization set in. This would mean confronting the reality of their loss head-on. With shaking hands, the firefighter pried the box open, revealing a tangled mess of charred belongings. Her mother's favorite bracelet, a broken photo of them all smiling together, a half-burned note with love scribbled across it, all remnants of the life they had once shared. "Mum!" Hannah's voice was barely a whisper, as if saying it any louder would shatter the fragile moment. But then, tucked at the very bottom of the box, something glimmered, catching the soft morning light. It looked like a pendant, its surface scratched and dirty, but undeniably whole. A flicker of recognition sparked in Hannah's chest. It was her mother's locket, the one with their family picture inside. "I can't believe it," she murmured through gritted teeth, reaching out to grasp it. Before her fingers could touch the locket, the firefighter looked grave. "I'm sorry. There might be something else in your mother's belongings." Her breathing quickened, dread settling into her stomach. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, ice darting from father to daughter, and the tension rose like smoke. "We found a note. It was addressed to you." A weight pressed on her chest, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. What had left her mother's hand before everything had turned to ashes? "Read it," Michael rasped, pain etched across his face. Hannah blinked rapidly, her heart racing. The locket felt hot against her palm. This could be everything or nothing, but at that moment, she felt the world collapse around her. As the firefighter unfolded a charred piece of paper, Hannah braced herself, preparing for whatever was to come. Would it be her mother's wisdom or something darker? A word of betrayal from beyond the grave? The firefighter began to read, words spilling into the air like fragile whispers amidst the ruins. And with every syllable, Hannah's heart raced faster. The lingering truth was about to crack open the ashes. They would either rise or fall once again.